Hello everyone, my name is Miranda and welcome to Book Talk, where today I will be giving you my February monthly wrap-up for all the books I read in the month of February. Now I started February off on a bit of a reading slump. It seemed like every single book I picked up, I just wasn't into it, and I seem to be getting back into that again, so I don't know if it's just beginning, end of the month sort of thing. I did manage to break out of the terrible reading slump, and I managed to read 12 books in February, which I gotta say, not too bad since February is the shortest month of the year. That brings my total for the year up to 26 books out of the 70 that I would like to read on Goodreads. And now I am here to share some of those books with all of you. First up, I read Grace's Guide, The Art of Pretending to be a Grown-Up by Grace Helbig. Most of you will probably recognize Grace, seeing as she is one of the biggest YouTube stars out there right now. And this book is just kind of her stories and advice on things like dating and hangovers, hookups, and of course she has her funny little anecdotes and just her comedic wit that I love so much about her channel, and it definitely carried over into this book, which I'm very glad about, because sometimes when you read a book like this that's from a comedian who you love so much and think is so funny, it doesn't always translate off the page because basically you're reading words and you really don't have the tone as you would in videos where they seem funny. So I really enjoyed it. I was highly impressed with it, and it just made me love Grace even more. I definitely recommend it, and I would give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a perfect book to start February off with. I then read my most anticipated book of 2015, and that was The Ruby Circle by Richelle Mead, which is the 6th and final book in the Bloodline series. I say this every time, but I honestly still can't believe the series has ended. Just so fast-paced, so interesting, and like I said, this is a spin-off that I actually like more than the original series. I like it more than Vampire Academy, but just looking at The Ruby Circle, I was actually a tad disappointed with this book, which really pains me to say. I don't even know what didn't work for me, because pretty much everything that I wanted to happen did happen. I felt like the characters and all the plot that we'd had in the 5 previous books were rushed along so much just to further along this other plot that wasn't even really wrapped up or really thought about much before this book, so that was disappointing for me. But I mean, it's still Sydney and Adrian, but it just left me wanting more, and since this is the last book in the series, I shouldn't feel like that. I should feel like everything is wrapped up, so that's why I'm gonna have to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Next! Another book that I was really looking forward to reading this year was I Was Here by Gayle Forman. Oh, I have the sticker. Ooh, okay. Take that off. Gayle Forman, I have an interesting relationship with her books. She doesn't write a lot of books, but If I Stay and Where She Went, I am absolutely in love with. I feel like they are the pinnacle of contemporary books for me. I love them more than Fault in Our Stars. But her next series, Just One Day, Just One Year, whatever that thing was, I only read the first book, and that book was literally torture to get through. Like, I don't read a lot of books that I'm just kind of like, when is it gonna end? So this book, as much as I was looking forward to it, I was also very nervous. I did have high hopes because the description basically sounds a lot more like If I Stay. So it's really interesting because I think it's really thought-provoking in that you always think you know people, but then what if you really don't? And that's what Cody has to go through, is realizing maybe she didn't know Meg as well as she would have thought she did. And it's just a really great book. I feel like this is back on If I Stay level for me. I don't know if I like this or If I Stay more. They were both really good. So I am very impressed. I'm very happy. Great to see Gayle Forman back in my love of books. And I would definitely recommend it, even if you didn't like Just One Night, because I didn't, and I love this book. So don't judge a book by its previous book. I then read something a little different that I don't usually read, and that is a graphic novel type comic book kind of thing. It's Captain Marvel from Marvel series. I saw it one day at Barnes & Noble, so I wanted to check it out, and I got it from the library. I read it, and it's really interesting, really intriguing. Marvel has always been really good, I feel like, about their female characters. Like, maybe not so much giving them movies, but I feel like in the comic books they're getting really good. So I wanted to read Captain Marvel, and it was really good. I really like Captain Marvel. She's a kick-ass superhero just like everyone else that we've met in the Marvel universe. And she's supposed to be getting her own movie in 2018, I believe. I'm casting one for it, but I kind of have my heart set on Cara Delevingne being Captain Marvel. I don't know, I could just picture her in this role, but Captain Marvel, definitely loved it. And like I said, I'm not someone who usually reads graphic novels or comic books. I definitely liked this one. It was definitely really funny, really kick-ass, and I love Captain Marvel, so I can't wait to read more of her adventures and see where it takes us. After that, I read All Fall Down by Ally Carter, which is the first book in her new series, Embassy Row. I don't really like Ally Carter's books. I mean, as much as I did like Gallagher Girls in the beginning, it was just the books came out so far apart. Like, I was in middle school when those books started, and I think when they ended, I was graduating high school. So, I mean, there was a long time gap to try and remember everything that happened, and it's not like it was 13 books in the series. It was 6. So every time I try and get involved in an Ally Carter series, I'm always like, do I have 25 years of my life to set aside this book to realize the ending? All Fall Down as itself, I feel like, was typical Ally Carter in that she has these great stories, great ideas, but somehow in the execution and the writing, it just does not deliver. Like, on paper, All Fall Down sounds amazing. It's about a girl named Grace whose grandfather is a diplomat for the U.S., so she goes to live with him at Embassy Row, which is where all the country's diplomats live together. And the thing is that 3 years ago, Grace saw her mother murdered. No one believes her because the report says it was an accident and it was a fire. So the whole thing is Grace trying to prove that she's not crazy, and she finds friends that try and help her prove this, try and take down the man she thinks murdered her mother. So I mean, it sounds really intriguing, really interesting, but the thing is the execution, like I said, is just not good. You're confused for most of it. Oh, as much as I wanted to love this book, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because there was always times where I was just like, what is going on here? I mean, Grace as the character was good, but then she still had moments where I felt like I didn't know what was going on with her head, and if she's the main character and narrator of the story, I should know what's going on in her head. So I debated on what I should give this book, but ultimately getting to the end, I have to give it 3 out of 5 stars, and I mean, now we have 3 years to wait for the sequel probably because that's just how Ally Carter writes. So if you did like this book, you've got a long wait, probably. Lastly, I read One Tiny Lie by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book in the 10 Tiny Breasts series, but I actually never read the first book. I just skipped right to the second book. This book, though, takes place a couple years, maybe like 2 or 3 years, I think, after. I'm not sure how old Livy was in the first book, so I'm not quite sure. But it's about the younger sister, Livy. It's her story. She's going away to college, and her sister, Casey, tells her that she thinks she needs to kind of lighten up and not be so straightforward and kind of have just regular experiences and not be so serious all the time. So at the first party she attends, she meets this guy, Ashton, who is really, really good looking, of course, but is a really, really big player, of course. So Livy kind of tries to fight her attraction to him this whole time, especially when she finds out he's unavailable for various reasons. The whole story is not only Livy kind of breaking down Ashton's walls and getting closer to him than anyone has before, but also her kind of reinventing her goals and realizing that what she thought she wanted her whole life may not be what she actually wants, and kind of having to readjust her whole life plan. And I think that was a really relatable story to see Livy kind of realize that these dreams she's had since she was 9 years old may not be for her after all, and kind of going through what that feels like when you realize what you've basically centered your whole life around is actually not what you want to do. So I really liked Livy's character. I feel like she was really strong, really relatable, and I love seeing the journey she went on from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. I have to say, this book, I didn't like it for like the first probably like third of the book. I just felt like it was so tedious, but once you reach the end, you can really see the difference and how everything affected Livy in such a positive light, and how I really enjoyed it. I thought when I first started reading it I was going to give it like 1 out of 5 stars, but now after reading the complete story, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good, and I mean, the cover is so pretty. Look at it. It's so pretty. Alright, so there you have it. Those are the books that I read during the month of February, and from now on I thought to make these wrap-up videos a little more fun and a little more different, I would end the videos by giving you my best book of the month. So for February, break out the champagne and cue the drum roll, please. My best book of the month would have to be I Was Here by Gayle Forman. I loved it so much, and I would definitely recommend it. I cannot stop raving about it. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below to be told when I make all sorts of new videos, and I will see you guys next month. Bye!